This is AP1 HD.
The Asian Institute of Diplomacy and International Affairs AIDIA, in association with the Embassy of India, presents roundtable meeting on attracting Indian investment in Nepal, past successes and future opportunities, supported by Team Ventures, Kyal Group, Sal Trading Corporation, Vriddhi Group, Samanantar Nirvan Seva Private Limited, Sharma and Company, Padmasri Group, Kumar Shrestha Nirvan Seva Private Limited.
Namaste. Roundtable discussion on attracting investment in Nepal, post success and future opportunities in Nepal. नमस्कार, म कुबेर चालिसे, कारोबार राष्ट्रिय आर्थिक दैनिकको सम्पादक। आज हामी नेपालमा भारतको वैदेशिक लगानीको बारेमा छलफल गर्न गइरहेका छौँ। त्योभन्दा अगाडि म सुरुमा नेपाल राष्ट्र बैंकले भर्खरै एउटा प्रतिवेदन सार्वजनिक गरेको छ, त्यसको बारेमा अलिकति चर्चा गर्न चाहन्छु। द सर्वे सोज द स्टक अफ एफडीआई, नेपालमा वैदेशिक लगानीको बारेमा, प्रत्यक्ष वैदेशिक लगानीको बारेमा नेपाल राष्ट्र बैंकले गरेको प्रतिवेदनको उसमा चाहिँ नेपाल हैज रिसिभ्ड फरेन इन्भेस्टमेन्ट फ्रम 53 कन्ट्रिज, अर्थात् 53 वटा देशबाट नेपालले 2019 को मिड जुलाईसम्ममा जति पनि वैदेशिक लगानीहरू आकर्षित गरेको छ, त्यसमा भारत अझै पनि ओभरअल आजसम्मको नेपालको इतिहासमा एक नम्बरमा छ, जसमा भारतले 56.05 अर्ब लगानी गरेको छ। र त्यसपछि चीन पर्दछ, चीनपछि सेन्ट किट्स आइल्यान्ड, र त्यसपछि आयरल्यान्ड, र त्यसपछि सिङ्गापुर, र उनीहरूको 27.56 अर्ब, 24.94 अर्ब र 11.59 अर्ब इन्भेस्टमेन्ट गरेको छ। अर्थात् नेपालको कुल वैदेशिक लगानीमा भारतको हिस्सा अहिले पनि 30.6 अर्ब छ, र त्यसपछि चीनको, र त्यसपछि सेन्ट किट्स एन्ड नेभिस आइल्यान्डको, र त्यसपछि आयरल्यान्डको र सिङ्गापुरको लगानी देखिन्छ। अब आज हामी चाहिँ यसबारेमा छलफल गर्दैछौँ कि नेपालमा भारतको लगानी र नेपालमा भारतको लगानी कसरी बढाउन सकिन्छ, किन पछिल्लो समयमा बढेन भनेर। योभन्दा अगाडि म के भन्न चाहन्छु भने नेपालमा भारतको लगानीलाई हामीले हेर्दाखेरि हामीले 3 सेक्टरमा बाँड्न सक्छौँ, 3 लहरमा भन्दा पनि हुन्छ। पहिलो चाहिँ विराटनगर जुट मिलमा कलकत्ताको एकजना व्यापारीले लगानी गर्नुभयो, र 75 वर्ष अगाडि जुन नेपालमा चाहिँ भारतको लगानी आयो, पहिलो लगानी विदेशी लगानी भनौँ, प्रत्यक्ष विदेशी लगानी एफडीआई, त्यसलाई हामी मान्छौँ। दोस्रो लहरमा आफ्टर 1990 वेन नेपाल ओपन्ड अप द इकोनोमी, त्यसपछि भारतीय लगानीहरू एकदम द्रुत गतिमा आए। त्यसपछि तेस्रो लहरमा हामी के भन्छौँ भने अब अहिले प्रेजेन्ट कन्टेक्स्टमा चाहिँ थर्ड फेज भन्छौँ हामी। फर्स्ट फेज इज 75 इयर्स अगो द विराटनगर जुट मिल, अनि त्यसपछि सेकेन्डमा चाहिँ 1990 को पोस्ट 1990 को इकोनोमिक लिबरलाइजेसन पछिको, र थर्ड चाहिँ हामी अहिले प्रेजेन्ट कन्टेक्स्टमा भन्छौँ। यो बारेमा हामी छलफल गर्दैछौँ, र आज हामीले यो बारेमा छलफल गर्नलाई हामीले नेपालका 3 विज्ञ बोलाएका छौँ यसबारेमा। यसमा हाम्रो डिपार्टमेन्ट अफ इन्डस्ट्री अर्थात् उद्योग विभागका निर्देशक श्री सुरेश श्रेष्ठजी हुनुहुन्छ हामीसँग, उहाँलाई हामी स्वागत गर्छौँ। यहाँलाई स्वागत छ स्टुडियोमा। त्यसपछि नेपालमा प्रत्यक्ष वैदेशिक लगानीको एउटा उदाहरण भनौँ न, त्यसको नेपाल एसबीआई ब्याङ्कको एमडी सिइओ मिस्टर दीपक कुमार डे हुनुहुन्छ, उहाँलाई पनि हामी स्टुडियोमा स्वागत गर्छौँ। त्यसपछि नेपालको निजी क्षेत्रको एउटा प्रतिनिधि तथा नेपाल उद्योग वाणिज्य महासङ्घका वैदेशिक लगानी समितिका संयोजक श्री आनन्द बगारिया ज्यू हुनुहुन्छ, उहाँलाई पनि हामी स्वागत गर्छौँ। यहाँहरू सबैलाई हामी स्टुडियोमा स्वागत गर्छौँ। म पहिला चाहिँ मिस्टर डेबाट सुरु गर्न चाहन्छु। हाउ हेज बिन द experience of bilateral investment and bilateral relation in Nepal?
If you look at the India-Nepal relationship, see this entire bilateral relationship and FDI investment, any country, if you look at any country, the FDI investment has some barriers, and certain barriers will be always there. So that depends upon any investment happens, it depends upon how much the barriers can be overcome. So in case of Nepal, the basic we call it in the major barrier is that location. Location doesn't mean only the physical locations. It comes up with the the labor, the location, the resources, all things included in the locations. So for India, I think there is no other country who has the the benefit of or the overcoming this barrier very easily. So that is the in case of India, because as per the geographical locations, it is in the almost same radar. Then cultural similarities, that is also comes under location. And cultural similarity, it is for years or hundreds of years we have the same culture. We call it roti beti and sampat. So this is that's why this it is a natural advantage for India to have investment in Nepal. So now coming to the as you already said that almost 30% of Nepal's FDI investment, it comes from India. And if you look back the investment arena, then as you rightly said, 92 when the Nepal opens up, there are quite a few industries came during that time, and out of that quite successful industries. As of now, I think around 150 Indian investment is in operation. So that is another important thing, that 150 is in operation. Because in FDI investment, there are two basic differences. One is that commitment from particular country or particular industry, and then actual realization. But I think probably in case of India, that actual investment happened very significant amount. So as of now, as 150 companies are in running condition, either through joint venture or any other. And they are contributing to Nepal's economy. See, it is not only helping the creation of jobs, but it is also helping to export driven. And today, if you look at the data, see Nepal's almost 60% of import comes from the India. Even the last this current year 5 months data shows the almost similar thing, and also export. This is import and export. India, Nepal's entire exports, 83% or more than 83% goes to India. So it happens because of the cultural similarity, and that's why Indian companies are already there, and there are lot of scopes are there. So number of the major companies which already there, like Dabur is there. Then of course there are different companies which are either through joint venture or like Surya Nepal, that is another one. Asian Paints, Barjar, they are doing very well, and they are not only doing well for themselves, but also it is giving good boost in in Nepal's economy. And other than that, there are banking, like SBI is one of the major investor in here. Then PNB, then insurance companies, LIC, National Insurance. There are quite a few names. Concord is another area. So these are the companies which already there, and I am sure in going forward with the advantage of location barrier, I think there will be lot many investment coming to Nepal from India.
Thank you, Mr. Day. I'll move to Mr. Bagaria. Like Mr. Day said, there are quite few Indian investment and that are very successful, like Dabur and Unilever, which is now Nepal Liver. Despite that, there was, like we said, 75 years ago, when we started Biratnagar jute mills with Indian investment. That is the first phase. Second phase is post 1990 we started, and then Dabur came and a lot of companies came. Unilever, now Nepal Liver came. So many companies came to Nepal. So what do you think the private sector of Nepal and India, are they in sync with each other, or what do you think? You are the private sector representative and you are in the FNCCI also, Nepal's the umbrella organization of private sector, Federation of Nepalese Industries and Commerce. What do you think the Nepalese private sector and Indian private sector, how they sync each other, and how can we, what is the scenario between Nepal and India, between the private sector?
Thank you, Kuberji. I mean, I will pick on what you said earlier, the phase 1 and the phase 2 and the phase 3. And I wasn't there to witness the phase 1, but then I remember very clearly when I joined business, the phase 2 had started.
Second phase,
everybody was talking about building in, I mean, a lot of manufacturing investment came into Nepal. Not only FDI, but even domestic investment happened in Nepal. And if you look back, what happened critically is that the treaty happened. Treaty provided us,
lot of scope
and tariff-free access into the Indian market, which was an amazing thing. But if you critically analyze it, what you would realize is that most of the industries that happened during that period were either based on the tariff arbitrage or were based on protection in Nepal.
Okay.
So the industries we talk about are either of the two. And as arbitrage in the many years, arbitrage remained for a long time. But as arbitrage started, diminishing, I'm sure DOI will be able to give us better statistics. So I would not get into the data part of it. But as the arbitrage started diminishing, I would say the inflow of FDI started diminishing too. And how I look at it is that it was a strategic move. It was a strategic G2G move where industrialization was kind of emphasis was given into industrializing Nepal, and it did happen. But probably what we need to look at is not only the protected sector and not only the arbitrage sector, even the regulated sector got a lot of investment.
Yeah.
But the scenario, phase 3, the scenario has changed.
Yeah.
The arbitrage is not in your control. The protection is. We can protect our industries, we can protect, because what has changed in phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3 is that Nepal itself has become a huge market.
Yeah.
Our affordabilities have gone up, our consumption patterns. I can give you one classic example. Every year, if you look at our agri output, it is increasing. But at the same time, our food import is also increasing. So which essentially to me means that our consumption is increasing.
Yes.
Which is a great parameter for any economy to grow. But at the same time, are we now strategizing well enough to attract FDI is the question. And maybe we need to strategize in the current context. हामी 1990 को कुरा गरेर 2021 मा the context has changed completely.
Yes.
So now what? I look at another opportunity, not only our market, Mr. Day just spoke about logistical disadvantage, location, but I think, yes, there is, but then within given set of limitations, what do we do next? If you look at UP or if you look at Bihar, it has the same logistical disadvantage or advantage as somebody sitting in Birganj does.
Yes.
So, or somebody sitting in Biratnagar or this part. Yeah. Or maybe we have an advantage if we compare it to Northwest.
Yes.
Calcutta port, yes, okay, Northeast has logistical cost benefit, but what about somebody who is transporting goods to Delhi? So we need to strategize and attract, and more than important is build confidence. So for a businessman, it is not just about statistics. It is about the confidence that you feel. I feel very confident going to Bhairava and opening an industry. A guy from industrialist or a businessman from Delhi should feel equally confident about coming to Bhairava and opening an industry. We should be able to convince him that there is a market here.
Yes.
So this is where probably I should end at this point of time.
Thank you, Mr. Bagaria. Now I come to Mr. DOI, Suresh Shrestha ji. When we talk about statistics, a lot of commitments is coming on, and a lot of people from other countries are interested in investing in Nepal. But the commitment thing and the realization is different thing. We'll talk in later part. But what do you think? Like Mr. Bagaria said, there's a lot of enthusiasm in the Indian market that we want to go to in Nepal and invest in Nepal. Nepal is a good market. Dabur is doing good. Nepal Liver is doing good. So why not? Why not other more important Tata and Birla and other big shots are coming to Nepal? What do you think are the problems, the hurdles that they face, or what you can do to facilitate them to come to Nepal?
Well, I totally agree to Mr. Bagaria that the consumption level and the income level and the spending capacities of Nepalese people have gone up dramatically, and because of that, the market is growing, and we see that the investment, not only the domestic investment, the foreign investment is also. If you look at the statistics, then it is in the increasing trend. If you look at the data of 2071 and if you look at the data now, then we see a gradual increase in the investment, and that is obviously because of the market, that is the market potential
Nepal,
that we have.
Most of the people say it's a small market, but it's not small.
It is no more small market
Yes.
now. Yeah,
Yes.
it used to be a small, but as Mr. Bagaria said that we can. It's quite visible that the spending level, the spending capacities of Nepalese, we see how it is going up is clearly visible to us. So that's why there is a huge potential, and the only thing that we have to now do as the government of Nepal is to market Nepal as the destination for foreign investments. That's what we are not doing properly. So we are sharing open border with India. That is another very big advantage, as Mr. Dey said. So we have to market it more. We have to show the opportunities that are actually present here. For example, we can talk about the different possibilities. Like it is a huge potential market for tourism. For example, why don't we call for investors to invest in the tourism business, tourism industry. Similarly, there is ample opportunity in the service market. So we have got like huge pool of human resources now. If you talk about the IT engineers and the computer engineers, every year large number of engineers are coming into the market. So why don't we attract investments from other countries to invest in the IT sector? So these are the potential, these are the strengths that Nepal has, and that is what we have to actually market. And if we do proper marketing of Nepal as the destination for foreign investment, we will obviously do better in the future.
So I'll come to you. Like you said, there's a scope for better or more investment in Nepal. So why is it that Nepal has not been able to attract more investment in Nepal? Like you said, service sector is the biggest sector. More than 60% of Nepal's GDP is contributed by service sector. That's well said, and data also proves that. So what is the problem that Nepal government has not been able to attract more investment in service sector or any other sector from India? Like I said, 75 years ago, Nepal got the first investment in Nepal from India. And second phase was 1990, post 1990, we got Nepal SBI Bank joint venture, Unilever which is now Nepal Liver and Dabar Nepal. But why can't we create that magic, that situation right now? What we failed? Where has the government been failing? And what the government is doing now to correct that?
I really don't say it's a failure. It's not a failure, in fact. If you see the figures, if you see the statistics, then it's in the increasing trend. Means we are quite hopeful, and we have to be optimistic about attracting more investments into it. And as I said earlier, there are certain things which we did not say it loudly. For example, why don't we talk about the hydropower potential here in Nepal? Come and invest in hydropower. Why don't we tell the investors that we have surplus of electricity, we're going to have surplus of electricity, and the tariff will go down. And that is one of the biggest advantages to the investors who will come into Nepal, who will have very cheap electricity in Nepal. So, these are the things that we actually have to focus on. We actually have to market upon. So I don't think it says we have failed. We are doing pretty good in attracting foreign investment.
So, as you said, you have been doing pretty good in attracting investment. I'll move to Mr. Day. So, how has been your experience? You are a joint venture company in Nepal. That's one of the examples of Nepal, India, bilateral relations and investment also. What is your experience and your scope that you can do much better than what is happening right now? What do you think?
Yeah, as you spoke about our own experience, see, we are having a 55% stake of Indian entity and rest 45% are Nepal's entity in our organization.
Yeah.
So that is going very well, and in fact, in 28 years in existence, we have grown from scratch to today we have substantial business in Nepal. And along with that, we have right now we have having almost 1,000 employees in our bank. So that's a good example that how Indian investment can help in growing this thing. So similar thing also can be found out. Now coming to the scope, scope is immense in Nepal because Nepal is having ample natural resources. Even we have not tapped the mining resources. Then Nepal has young labor force, and the tourism is always one thing which no other country has in this world. Only thing is that we need lot of investment and marketing of the product. Out of this, you have to find out which sector you can promote, because see, as Nepal has certain advantages as well as certain disadvantages. Advantage is that Nepal has a huge market, untapped market in India, and there is, as Mr. Bagaria already said, we all know there are lots of goods which are duty free. Okay. So of course that facility Nepal can tap easily. That is a very the first priority. Second is that tourism related, tourism and service sector. Nepal must attract investment, and investment from India, coming from India, it will be much easier than coming from some other parts of the world. Then third is that another hydropower, as you already said, this is this we can further attract investment. As he rightly said, we are now going to be power surplus. And now we can, this is a scope for Nepal to earn foreign exchange by exporting this. For that another industry is required, that is the transmission sector. So we need a beautiful transmission system through which the power can be exported from Nepal to India, Bangladesh or neighboring countries where the shortfall is there. And of course, as you rightly said, we can promote that we have surplus power, so why not industry can come. So this is another area. Then I feel that a lot many Nepali students, they go abroad for education, and India is having a beautiful educational system. Today if you look at IT sector in entire world. Top 6 IT companies, the CEOs are from India, and they not only they are Indian, but they have been studied in our Indian system only, and then they went abroad and they got it. So this thing, I think this needs to be tapped, so that Nepali student should not go to abroad for study purpose. They can do it in here, and there will be lot of scope for job and then infrastructure for education. So I think this is one sector. My feeling is that this is one. Transmission line, as I told you, hydrocarbon of course is there, and agro-based industry. Because see, agro-based industry, another important factor I can tell you, that your market is not far away, it is India only. If you do agro-based thing, there are agro-based food processing industries that the Indian market will be taking it. Even recently, this Dabur has announced that they will come up with certain product where the consumption will be in India only. So these are all things I think we should tap in this thing. Of course, there are areas like infrastructure needs to be improved, and for that private investment can be sought for, because as you know, in India daily 40 kilometers of road per day is being built. So it's a huge capacity build up that India has done. So we can take that technology and advantage of these facilities, how they are doing, and these companies can do it very nicely. They can do it PPP basis, or they can simply do the job. So there are a lot of scope for investment in this area also.
Okay, like Mr. Day said, there's a huge scope for Indian investment in Nepal. I will come to Mr. Bagaria. Since Nepal is going to graduate from LDC to DC, so there will be no more grants and all these things. So we need FDI. So there's no option now. FDI is the must for Nepal's development and job creation and revenue generation and everything. And FDI is not only meant for FDI as such, it's also for revenue generation like Surya Nepal or Nepal Liver or Dabur or any other companies like Encel, whatever we say. They are contributing not only to job creation but also to revenue generation in Nepal, so that Nepal's capacity can build up. So what do you think as a private sector, Nepal's private sector and Indian private sector? You are from the FNCCI, Federation of Nepalese Industries and Commerce and Industries. What do you think there are hurdles which have been stopping investments coming to Nepal? Because like I said, 75 years ago, the first FDI came to Nepal as 1 lakh rupees. That's not significant amount, but it's the first initiation that started. And Biratnagar Jute Mill is not only the example of FDI, the first FDI in Nepal, it's the whole political systems change also in Nepal, because Biratnagar Jute Mill is also one of the examples from where Nepal's political change started. Girija Prasad Koirala and all these people started their movement from there. So that was not only the FDI, it changed Nepal's scenario. So second phase was, like I earlier said, after 1990, when we opened up the economy, before India actually. After Nepal opened up its economy, India opened its economy after Manmohan Singh came. So it's 1992, and Nepal opened its economy in 1990. So 2-3 years after India opened. Now India is growing much better than Nepal. So Nepal's private sector, how you are representing the private sector, how do you think, what hurdles have created those problems to excel in Nepal's development, in attracting investment from India and other countries as well, more especially from India?
यसलाई यसरी हेरौँ कुबेरजी, अब हामीले 1990 मा लिबरलाइजेसन सुरु गर्यौँ, 1995 तिर हाम्रो यो ट्रिटी पनि
नेपाल र भारतको
त्यो ट्रिटी जुन ट्यारिफ फ्री यु नो एन्ट्री इन्टु इन्डिया वाला आयो त्यो 95 तिर आयो हैन। एउटा दुईटा कुरा छुट्टै छुट्टै म राख्न चाहे। एउटा चाहिँ FDI को सन्दर्भमा let's not forget that FDI itself is a very competitive market. There are 200 countries competing for that FDI.
Sure.
Right? So we have to get competitive there, and we have to get competitive in our own playground rather than trying to compete with anybody else.
Yes.
So we have to create like your football or cricket खेल्दाखेरि home ground र you know foreign ground भन्दाखेरि we have to create our competitive advantage in home ground.
Okay.
हैन त्यो कसरी क्रिएट गर्ने, that needs a strategy.
Yeah.
त्यो strategy को लागि के गर्नु पर्यो? Back in 95 we said okay you know India had a higher import tariff duty, so it worked well with us. And
India त्यतिखेर बन्द पनि थियो।
India बन्द पनि थियो, पर उनीहरुको tariff structure was at a much higher level. What we did strategically is we said okay, exports will be subjected to refund of import duties.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
in practically we were importing third country raw material at zero import tariff, processing it. There are certain norms which still exist. A value addition was created and exported.
25%.
35%.
35%.
So it is effectively 50% on the base price.
Base price,
So त्यो गर्दाखेरि that was the strategy which worked. Nepal government was quick enough to say we will waiver the duties. एक ताखा त even income tax was exempted, or it was a fixed income tax on the value of the goods rather than the current system. It worked well.
Yeah.
हैन, पर आज त परिप्रेक्ष्य चेन्ज भइसक्यो।
Oh.
Indian arbitrage has come down.
Yes.
And त्यो arbitrage is not in our control, right? But then it is time to get more competitive. Maybe larger scale of industries which you are already seeing, so many large scale. आजको जुन size को industries छ, पहिला कल्पनीय थिएन. We never thought of that.
Yes.
हैन, even when this treaty happened, we were working in smaller units.
Yeah.
हैन, so now the size of industries when you drive on Biratnagar corridor or Birganj corridor, it's
or 12 Parsa corridor, whatever.
it feels awesome. I mean, it feels good to see that. हैन. So त्यो एउटा part हो. So we need to attract FDI, we need to get our package right. We need to be clear where we want and where we don't want and what we want to give and what.
Yes.
Hurdles को कुरा गर्ने भए, yeah, there are many hurdles.
Okay.
Which will be there in
Like
any
1, 2, 3, 4.
हैन, we say bureaucratic hurdles, red tapeism, we say repatriation का issue. But for me, if you ask me as a private sector, I think if you solve all of them today, there will be another set tomorrow.
Okay.
So business is, as a private sector, we are the most agile human beings, I would say. We don't go by the rules.
Okay.
We create opportunities and the rules follow. Tell me one business which had a rule first and business second. It was always business first and rule, even the banking here.
Yeah.
Right? आज बाफिया र जेको पनि कुरा गरे पनि पछि आएको हुन्, पहिला बैंक आएको हो हैन. So same thing ma, if we are to go, yes, there are issues, there will always be issues, and there are issues in every country that you go to. Hamro lagi, when the business came in, or today let's talk about the names that we have taken, they are still fighting to get the issues solved, but they are happy with the balance sheets, aren't they?
Yeah.
So at the end of it, a business is a business which looks at the top line and the bottom line.
Yes.
होइन, त्यो अगर advantage छ भने, I am ready to tolerate all the difficulties that are there, and if there is no opportunity, then I will always blame the policy. होइन, so policy hurdle is there. It can be smoothened, and trust me, I have been in business for last 25 years. I have seen our government very, very proactive. होला कुनै कुनै कुरा नमिल्न सक्छ, private sector र government को mindset नमिल्न सक्छ, which is open to debate. But we are proactive. We are doing our best to improve those scenarios. I think where we are lacking is in our marketing skills.
Okay.
We are not giving the kind of confidence that an investor coming into a new country should be given. होइन, सो त्यो भन्नुको मतलब यो हो कि मलाई लाग्छ one of the shortest route to that is government ले announce गरेर हुँदैन के.
Okay.
utako manche pani, if it is a G2G deal where the government has to invest and this government has to invest, then it is fine. But if you are talking with the private sector across the border, private sector and private sector have to come together and sell. So the marketing cannot be G2P, government to private sector. It has to be P2P.
P2P, yeah.
And yes, as a private sector of Nepal, I need to know that my government has my back.
Okay.
I think that will be more convincing than anything else.
Okay, Mr. Bagaria, he rightly said that it's not G2P, it's P2P actually. Now I come to Mr. Suresh Shrestha. That's what I was saying actually. Nepal Sarkarle, Nepal's government, has not been able to give confidence to the private sector of any other countries, including India, to come to Nepal and invest in Nepal. जसरी हामीले 1990 पछि इकोनोमी ओपन गरेर सबैलाई भन्यौं कि आउनुस् तपाईहरु हामी नेपालमा सुरक्षा दिन्छौं तपाईको लगानीको लागि हामी तपाईहरुलाई लगानीको रिप्याट्रिएसन अरु सबै हर्डलहरु सल्भ गर्दिन्छौं त्यसपछि हामीले 10 वर्ष अगाडि इन्भेस्टमेन्ट बोर्ड पनि इस्टाब्लिश गर्यौं नेपाल इन्भेस्टमेन्ट बोर्ड भनेर तपाई आउनुस् 10 अर्ब भन्दा बढीको ठूलो लगानी लिएर आउनुस् हामी चाहिँ तपाईलाई वन विन्डो सल्युसन दिन्छौं तपाईहरुले पनि डिओआईले पनि वन विन्डो सल्युसन भनेर स्टार्ट गर्नु भएको छ तर भइरा छैन कुराहरु मतलब इन्भेस्टमेन्ट आइरा छैन नि त कमिटमेन्टहरु आउँछ हामीले हेर्यौं कमिटमेन्टहरु एकदम धेरै कमिटमेन्टहरु आइराछ तर रियलाइजेसनमा त आउँदा त 20-30% भन्दा 30% भन्दा त बढी छैन 1 खर्बको कमिटमेन्ट आयो भने 30 अर्ब रियलाइजेसन भयो होला भनेपछि हामी त होस्ट कन्ट्री हौ नि त भनेपछि त सरकारको नेपाल सरकारको डिओआई को अथवा इन्भेस्टमेन्ट बोर्डको व्हाटएभर 10 अर्ब भन्दा माथिको इन्भेस्टमेन्ट बोर्डको होला त्यो भन्दा तल तपाईहरुको होला जिम्मेवारी तपाईहरुको जिम्मेवारी होला तपाईहरु कानेर चुक्नु भयो जसले गर्दा भारतीय लगानी वा विदेशी लगानीहरु आउनलाई समस्या भयो तपाईलाई के लाग्छ
as Mr. Bagaria said, whenever you are an investor, what you will look at is you will look at the profitability.
Yes.
Where you can make money.
Yes,
right?
Certainly.
So they will always choose the destination, they will always choose the country which has got more comparative advantage, right? So as we compare our country with others, then there are certain disadvantages that we have. For example, we do not have port, for example. That could be one of the very biggest disadvantages that we have. So the raw materials that we bring in is obviously expensive when it comes to not having, border. Port. So this is one of the very, very biggest, disadvantages or comes as a hurdle when it comes to investment and, thinking about return that you will get out of your investment. So that is one part which we have to look into. Now, we have to invest more on this transportation, communication, road infrastructures and all, so that, the cost will come down. When the cost comes down, the investor will be attracted, right? So that is what we'll have to do. Talking about, this thing, like why the realization is not that good. Realization किन हुँदैन भनेर कुरा गर्दाखेरि अघि हाम्रो यो पोलिसीको कुरा पनि आयो हैन पोलिसीको कुरा गर्दाखेरि we have done lot of reforms in policy as you said we have now FITA 2075 हैन 2000 त्यो FITA 25 आइसकेपछि यसमा हामीले elaborately चाहिँ नि सबै प्रोभिजन्सहरु एकदम simplified way मा now repatriation is no more difficult job now. Repatriation, तपाईले यहाँ इन्भेस्ट गर्नुहुन्छ भने तपाईको अर्निङ तपाईको देशमा लानको लागि अबको रिप्याट्रिएसन प्रोसेस भनेको इट्स भेरी भेरी सिम्प्लिफाइड प्रोसेस अहिले त्यसको लागि केही पनि हर्डल्स नै छैन पोलिसी लेभलमा त्यस्तै गर्यौं हामीले वन स्टप सर्भिस सेन्टरको कुरा गर्नुभयो
वन विन्डो पोलिसी
वन स्टप सर्भिस सेन्टर पनि हामीले इम्प्लिमेन्टेसनमा ल्यायौं वन स्टप सर्भिस सेन्टर चाहिँ नि अब हामीले उद्योग विभागकै प्रेमाइसमा चाहिँ नि ल्याएर त्यहाँ चाहिँ नि अहिले हाम्रो विभिन्न निकायहरूको रिप्रेजेन्टेसन हुँदाखेरि लगानी गर्दाखेरिमा जोसँग सम्बन्धित निकायहरू त्यो सबै एकै ठाउँमा आएर बसेर त्यहाँ 8वटा युनिट छ हामी त्यो 8वटा युनिटले चाहिँ नि एकै ठाउँबाट चाहिँ नि सर्भिस दिने गरी त्यो हामीले ल्यायौँ तर तपाईँले भने जस्तो अहिले भएको इनिसियल स्टेजमा हुँदाखेरि त्यहाँको इफेक्टिभनेस अहिले त्यति रियलाइज भइसकेको छैन तर वी हेभ स्टार्टेड डुइङ द्याट एन्ड द क्लायन्ट्स आर एक्चुली ह्याप्पी सिइङ वान स्टेप सर्भिस सेन्टर एट द प्रेमाइस अफ डिओआई होइन त्यो गऱ्यौँ हामीले त्यसपछि हामीले चाहिँ नि इन्टरेक्सन्सहरू पनि गरिरहेको हुन्छौँ लाइक गभर्मेन्टले पनि एउटा इन्भाइरोमेन्ट त सेट गर्नु पर्यो एज यु सेड इट्स बिट्विन प्राइभेट एन्ड प्राइभेट बट इट्स द गभर्मेन्ट विच सेट्स द इन्भाइरोमेन्ट पनि सेट गरिदिनु पर्यो है राइट
लगानी गर्ने निजी क्षेत्रले हो
हजुर
सबैलाई थाहा छ तर सरकारले त नीति बनाउने हो नि नेपाल सरकारले नीति बनाउँदा कम्बोडिया भियतनाम जुन हाम्रो कम्पिटिटरहरू छौँ नि प्रतिस्पर्धीहरू छन् तिनीहरूभन्दा राम्रो बनाउन किन सकिरहेको छैन भन्ने प्रमुख सवाल हो नि त
राम्रो बनाउने बाटोमा चाहिँ छौँ हामीले अब यो के औद्योगिक नीति होइन विदेशी लगानी नीतिहरूमा पनि हामीले यो चाहिँ नि इम्प्रुभमेन्ट्सहरू यसलाई कसरी चाहिँ अट्र्याक्टिभ बनाउने यो सेक्टरलाई कसरी अट्र्याक्टिभ बनाउने भन्ने हिसाबले हामीले एफडिआई एक्ट एफडिआई रेगुलेसन्सहरू ल्यायौँ त्यसपछि वी आर ह्याभिङ दिस अब ट्रेडमार्कको कुरा आउँछ होइन यो इन्टेलेक्चुअल प्रपर्टी दिस इज वान अफ द भेरी भेरी इन्टेग्रल पार्ट अफ एफडिआई यिनीहरूको प्रोटेक्सनको कुरा आउँछ त्यसको लागि हामीले अब यो इन्टेलेक्चुअल प्रपर्टीको एक्ट भन्दैछ वी आर एज यु सेड इज वी आर भेरी प्रोएक्टिभली मुभिङ टुवर्ड्स गेटिङ अट्र्याक्सन टु दिस एरिया त्यही भएर चाहिँ नि म के भन्छु भन्दाखेरि हामीले चाहिँ नि पोलिसी लेभलमा धेरै रिफर्म गऱ्यौँ इन्स्टिट्युसनल लेभलमा पनि ओएसएससी इज अ भेरी भेरी गुड एक्जाम्पल टु टु फेसिलिटेट द इन्भेस्टर्स त्यो स्मुदनिङ गर्ने भन्छ नि प्रोसेसलाई स्मुदनिङ गर्ने कुरामा हामीले धेरै इम्प्रुभमेन्ट चाहिँ गरिसक्यौँ एन्ड देयर आर डेफिनेटली मोर रुम्स टु बी इम्प्रुभड त्यो गर्न बाँकी नै छ र म चाहिँ के छु भन्दाखेरि जुन चाहिँ लोकेसनको हिसाबले इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चरको हिसाबले गर्दाखेरिको डिसएडभान्टेज बाहेक लेट्स मार्केट आवर कन्ट्री फर फरेन इन्भेस्टमेन्ट विथ द पोजिटिभ्स द्याट वी हेभ विथ अस होइन त्योलाई चाहिँ प्रमोट गऱ्यौँ भने चाहिँ वी हेभ एम्पल अपर्च्युनिटिज
लास्ट कुरा तपाईँले यो भन्दै गर्दा मलाई के याद भयो भने लेट्स प्रमोट ओके भेरी गुड थिङ बट हेभ यु बिन प्रमोटिङ नम्बर 1 नम्बर 2 again I come to the realization versus commitment thing. Why is that gap? 30% is realization and 100%. So why is that huge gap is there?
2-3टा रिजनहरू छ एउटा चाहिँ नि हाम्रो मिनिमम थ्रेसहोल्ड चाहिँ जुन 5 करोड रुपैयाँ चाहिँ नि लिएर आउनुपर्ने भन्ने त्यो थ्रेसहोल्ड चाहिँ नि इट्स अ थ्रेसहोल्ड फर अल इन्डस्ट्रिज के त्यो चाहिँ नि अलिकति नहुनुपर्ने इन्भेस्टर साइडकोबाट पनि 5 करोड इज टु मच फर अ सफ्टवेयर कम्पनी फर इक्जाम्पल अब कस्तो हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि 5 करोड लिएर आउनै पर्यो 5 करोडको उसको फाइनेन्सियल स्किम बनाउनै पर्यो प्रोजेक्ट बनाउनु पर्यो तर ही डज नट रिक्वायर 5 करोड रुपिज 5 करोडको कमिटमेन्ट देखिन्छ तर उसलाई 1 करोड भए पुग्छ 4 करोडको ग्याप त त्यहीँ आयो होइन त्यस्तै अर्को हाइड्रो पावर जस्तो इन्डस्ट्रीमा चाहिँ नि कमिटमेन्ट त एकैचोटि आउँछ नि यति अर्ब आयो भनेर तर त्यसको कन्स्ट्रक्सन त्यसको इआइए प्रोसेस त्यसको इस्टाब्लिसमेन्टसम्ममा जुन ग्याप हुन्छ नि त्यो त अपरेसन्स गर्ने बेलासम्ममा त्यो एक्सपेन्डिचर गर्ने बेलासम्ममा त्यहाँ ग्याप धेरै गेस्टेसन पिरियड छ नि त त्यसले गर्दाखेरि पनि त्यो ल्यागिङ त हुन्छ त्यो कमिटमेन्ट र रियलाइज हुने कुराहरू अर्को कुरा भनेको चाहिँ कुनै कुनै मेरो एक्सपिरियन्सबाट भएको चाहिँ कति चाहिँ जोइन्ट भेन्चरमा आउँछ कुनै प्रोजेक्टको लागि जोइन्ट भेन्चर गरेर आउँछ 5 जना आउँछ 5 जना मिलेर 5 करोड इच 25 करोडको प्रोजेक्ट लिएर आउँछ अनि त्यसपछि बिचमै यो इन्डस्ट्री रेजिस्ट्रेसन गर्ने सम्ममा चाहिँ नि मेबी ड्यु टु सर्टेन कन्फ्लिक्ट्स त्यो 5 जनामा 3 जना बाँकी भइसकेको हुन्छ 2 जना दे आर अलरेडी गन होइन ब्याक भनेपछि त्यो फेरि त्यसमा पनि घट्यो होइन त्यो कमिटमेन्ट र त्यो डिस्प्यारिटिजहरू यो कारणलेहरू पनि चाहिँ नि भएको हो होइन त्यही भएर 100% रियलाइजेसन त हुँदैन तर यो 30-40% रियलाइजेसनलाई पनि हामीले अझ यसलाई इम्प्रुभ गर्ने कसरी भनेर चाहिँ नि हामीले यो डेटालाई नै अलिकति गहिरो रूपमा चाहिँ एनालिसिस गर्नु जरुरी छ वाइ दिस ग्याप भन्ने त्यो चाहिँ नि हामीले पोलिसी लेभलमै त्यसलाई राम्ररी एनालिसिस गरेर क्रिटिकली त्यसमा सोचेर चाहिँ नि त्यो ग्यापलाई घटाउनु पर्ने अझ के पोलिसी रिफर्म ल्याउनु पर्छ त्यो लाउनु चाहिँ जरुरी छ.
Okay, I'll come to with his remark that the gap between realization and the commitment. I'll come to Mr. Dey. So what do you think that Indian investment in Nepal, like I already also said, that the first phase 75 years ago and 1990, 30 years ago, why this third phase has not been started? But in my personal view, it has started with, let's say, Arun third.
Yeah.
I say it's the third phase now.
Right.
First phase was 75 years ago, Biratnagar Jute Mill. Second phase was 1990, post 1990. And this is the third phase now. We're starting. But there's not huge movement. Maybe there are undercurrent, but it's not seen in the real picture. So what do you think? How can the government attract more investment? Like I say, in India, there are Tatas and Birlas and so many huge big shots. They are not in Nepal. So next door Nepal, they are not in, and they are in Africa and everywhere in the world. They are spreading their wings everywhere in the world, but they are not in Nepal. So what do you think should Nepal government do so that they can come to Nepal?
Correct.
And we can have more investment, Indian investment in Nepal. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's a nice thing. This is the actual thing happening.
Yes.
As Mr. Suresh said, that government is taking steps, and they are also working towards the attracting foreign direct investment. And in fact, I can give you one statistics from the World Bank. The ease of doing business in Nepal has been improved in 16 stages, the 16th jump. See, from 110 it was there among the countries in last to last year, and now it is 94. So that is not it's a matter of joke. It's a very, very big challenge, because 16 jump in 1 year, and this is a report from World Bank. So it is a good sign. So I am agreeing with him. But now coming to the investment. See, SGVN investment, that Arun 3, that is a showcase project. And in fact, if you look at the same project, Nepal has started initiating the thing, I think almost 50 years back. And that time it couldn't realize because of certain issues. Now in this project, particularly the SGVN, that Arun 3 project, it is a challenge for both the countries. That even SGVN is one of the largest company in this thing, and at the same time, they are what they are doing. They are doing it on time. They are trying to do it. In fact, I am involved with them, and seeing the development. Government also came out with so many precursors that anything Arun 3 project needs, government gives approval in a short time, and that's why another project is almost on the anvil, that Arun 3, that downstream project of 697 I think megawatt is also coming. So once this happens, I think they will be doing it before 2023. Nepal can showcase that in the entire world. So government department can showcase that this kind of big project can also possible in Nepal, and because of government's helping in doing this project. So this will be a game changer, and I am sure that other projects also will come to Nepal from India also. And as you said, Tata, Reliance, this, as Mr. Bagaria said, that it is always the businessman will see, always they will look for the profit, whether it is bottom line, mainly bottom line, but top line also, and return on investment. If you look at the return on investment and also the country concern, there are certain concerns are there in certain countries, particularly the developing countries. The rate of return which these companies will look for in developed countries is much higher than this, because of the certain risk factor. So Tata, Reliance, whatever the big companies in India, they will go to a country where a rate of return, even if it is lower than Nepal, but it is a developing country, not the least developed countries right now. So these are the strategies all companies, all multinational, they follow, and accordingly they take decisions to which country to go and which country not to go. And now one good thing is that Nepal is going to be a middle income country. It is expected that by 2030 it will be there. So then a bunch of industrialists, they will come to Nepal because they don't go to least developed countries.
Yes.
It is just for the namesake. So those countries will definitely try to come here, and this will be the opportunity for inter-Nepal institutions, government or the promoting institutions to market that time. That is one thing. Second thing is that India, for India to Nepal investment, there are quite a few organizations in India, they are very much involved. Like you have seen that last week PhD CCI came to India, Nepal, and they have done, and along with them 46 industries they have brought in for seminar, exhibition like that, and lot many things can happen. Similarly, CII last just 2-3 days back, they were in Kathmandu with 51 Indian industries.
Yes.
So these are the
Indian enterprises exhibition.
So these are also helping to get more FDI from India.
I'll stop you, Mr. Dave, here because we are running short of the time.
Yeah.
I'll come to
Thank
Mr.
you.
Bagaria. Since we have been talking about Indian investment and the third phase of Indian investment that could happen, like first phase, second phase and third phase. So what do you think from the private sector's view that the third phase is going to be a huge investment and there's no way, there's no option as well. So what do you think as a private sector player, isn't there a huge investment scope in Nepal?
There is, and I personally feel there are 2 or 3 things we need to do.
Okay.
I would put it this way. First thing we need to do is separate hydro and rest of the investment.
Okay.
The outlook on hydro and rest of the investment needs to be segregated because when you talk about large investments in hydro, the other investment kind of loses focus. So first thing we need to do that.
Okay.
Second, the private sector and the government needs to come together in more than one way. I mean, not just discussing policy matters, but we need to get down to strategizing and marketing together. And maybe, I know the government may not be very comfortable with what I'm going to say, but then the government now probably needs to, in this change time, the government probably needs to make the private sector their fronting agency rather than they fronting the private sector.
Yeah.
Policy is there, but government telling everybody that there is a policy and there's somebody at the back saying that repatriation ma garo cha, yo cha.
Visa ko problem, whatever.
Yeah, but with my own experience, yes, repatriation does give you trouble in the initial first or 2 transactions, but then once it is smoothened, it is smoothened.
Then it's,
but nobody goes out to say that. So you need the private sector guy to say, no, that's not a problem, I will help you out. And if that happens, I have a feeling that with the growing market and the proximity to UP, Bihar and the Northwest, we have a business case to make. We have to sell ourselves, right? I mean, it has to make business sense and it has to be a business case.
Thank you, Mr. Bagaria. So we are done. So the time is off. So what Mr. Bagaria is saying as a private sector player is we have to sell. So how can Nepal government sell itself competitively against Vietnam or Cambodia or other 49 LDCs is one thing, and second is India as being not only roti beti and all these things, that's a conventional thing. Now investment flows where there is opportunity. It's not only roti beti and emotional things, it's business. Business is business. So I think most probably the third phase has begun. Like I said, the first phase was 75 years ago with Viratnagar Jute Mill. Second phase was post 1990, And third phase we have started. So let's hope that we have more Indian investment in Nepal and less commitment and more realization in the FDI front, because when we talk about commitment, we say, okay, China is first or whatever, America is first, whatever, any other country is first. But according to the central bank's report that I again quote, that Nepal has received foreign investment from 53 countries, and among them, India ranks top position with 56.05 billion, and India is topmost #1 country. So only 56.605 billion, it's not a huge amount actually when you talk about, no? 56 अर्ब भनेको त ठुलो कुरा हैन नि त, तर त्यो नै आजको मितिमा नेपालको लागि सबभन्दा ठुलो लगानी, वैदेशिक लगानी हो भनेको। हामीसँग नेपालमा वैदेशिक लगानीलाई आकर्षित गर्ने र गर्नै पर्ने अर्को विशेषता के हो भने, नेपाल अब ग्रेजुएट हुँदैछ र अब ग्रान्टहरू आउँदैन भनेपछि त वैदेशिक लगानीको त विकल्पै छैन नि। भनेपछि अनि नेक्स्ट डोर इन्डिया छोडेर हामीले अन्त जानुभन्दा त नेक्स्ट डोर इन्डिया त सजिलो छ नि त। त्यो भएर हामी हुनसक्छ अब भारतीय लगानी बढीभन्दा बढी नेपालमा लगानी गर्ने र नेपालमा भारतीय लगानी मात्र होइन, विदेशी लगानी, वैदेशिक लगानीले रोजगारी सिर्जना गर्छ, रेभेन्यू जेनेरेट गर्छ। जबकि प्रत्येक वर्ष हामीले हेऱ्यौँ भने सूर्य नेपाल अथवा कुनै पनि कम्पनी, भारतीय लगानीकै कम्पनीले बढी ट्याक्स पेयरको अवार्ड पाइरहेछ, अनि त्यसपछि रोजगारी सिर्जना गर्छ, अनि त्यसपछि नेपाललाई ग्रेजुएट गर्ने प्रोसेसमा पनि हेल्प गरिरहेछ भन्ने हिसाबमा हामी चाहिँ अब हाम्रो समय सकिएको यहाँ जानकारी आयो। यो सबै हिसाबमा हेर्दा हामीले भारतीय लगानीलाई बढीभन्दा बढी कसरी आकर्षित गर्न सक्छौँ भन्ने कुरामा हामीले जोड दिनुपर्छ भन्ने देखेँ। यहाँहरू सबैलाई धन्यवाद। नेपाल उद्योग वाणिज्य महासङ्घका वैदेशिक लगानी प्रवर्धन समितिका संयोजक आनन्द बगारियाज्यू, नेपाल र भारतको जोइन्ट भेन्चर नेपाल एसबिआई ब्याङ्कका एमडी एन्ड सिइओ मिस्टर दीपक कुमार डे र उद्योग विभागका निर्देशक श्री सुरेश श्रेष्ठज्यू, यहाँहरू सबैलाई म धन्यवाद दिन्छु। धन्यवाद धन्यवाद धन्यवाद। अब हामी अर्को सेसनमा यसैलाई हामी कन्टिन्यू गर्छौँ। अर्को सेसनमा हामी भारतीय लगानीको बारेमा छलफल गर्छौँ। हस्, धन्यवाद। म कुबेर चालिसे, कारोबार राष्ट्रिय आर्थिक दैनिकको संवाददाता, यहाँहरू सब बिदा माग्छु। धन्यवाद।
The Asian Institute of Diplomacy and International Affairs AIDIA, in association with the Embassy of India, presents roundtable meeting on attracting Indian investment in Nepal, past successes and future opportunities, supported by Team Ventures, Kyal Group, Sal Trading Corporation, Vriddhi Group, Samanantar Nirvan Seva Private Limited, Sarma and Company, Padmasri Group, Kumar Shrestha Nirvan Seva Private Limited.